Welcome to our YouTube channel, From the Past to the Future. So today we're going to dive into a story that, well, it might sound really familiar. We're talking about the Mayan Prophecy. But get this, it looks like the Doomsday date has moved.
All right, let's get right into it. What we're going to do here is peel back the layers of this viral rumor. And to do that, we've got to look at a few things. The ancient history, some pretty serious academic research, and, the crazy way information just spreads in our world today. We're going to figure out what is really going on here.
I mean, come on. You remember this, right? The whole world was supposed to end back in 2012. It was absolutely massive. It wasn't just some fringe thing. It was on the news, in the movies, books. It was just everywhere. It was this one moment where basically billions of us, even if it was just for a split second, were all thinking about this ancient calendar and the end of the world.
Well, you guessed it. Get ready for the sequel. That's right, the Doomsday story is back. We've got the same ancient culture, a very similar claim, but now there's a brand new date popping up all over the internet, 2026. So, how on earth did we get here again?
So, why? Why is this whole idea making a comeback? To really get what's happening with this 2026 thing, we first have to rewind and see how it's totally different from that 2012 craze. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the difference here. 2012, that was like a top-down media storm, It was built around something real, even though it was misinterpreted. A major milestone in the Mayan calendar. But 2026? Nah, this is a totally different beast. It's a bottom-up thing, born in the echo chambers of social media, and it's all based on a supposed calculation error. The whole foundation is just completely different.
So, to get to the actual truth, we have to push aside all the myths and look at the source material, right? The Maya themselves and their incredible way of seeing time. And for them, time wasn't some straight line heading towards a cliff. Nope. It was a circle, a cycle.
And everything was built on these cycles within cycles. The main one you always hear about is the B'ak'tun. It's a chunk of time, roughly 394 years. The best way to think about it is like a really significant chapter in a much, much longer book.
And this just shows you the insane scale we're talking about. That famous date, December 21st, 2012, it marked the end of what they called a great cycle. That was made up of 13 of those B'ak'tuns we just mentioned. So do the math. That's a single period of time stretching over 5,000 years.
Wow. And here it is. This is the absolute key point. For the Maya, the end of a huge cycle like that wasn't some terrifying fire and brimstone apocalypse. It was way more like the odometer on an old car, when it hits 99999 and then just clicks over to all zeros. It's a moment of completion, a reset button, the beginning of the next grand chapter. It's not the end of the book.
Okay, so if the Maya were all about renewal back in 2012, where in the world did 2026 come from? Well, the answer is a textbook example of how a tiny bit of misinformation can just explode online.
Right. This is the big mystery we need to crack. And I'll give you a hint. It wasn't discovered on some ancient stone tablet or decoded from a secret manuscript. Its origins are way more recent and, to be honest, a lot less exciting.
The whole story really starts not with a prophet, but with a professor, a guy named Gerardo Aldana. He was looking into the science of how we line up the Mayan calendar with our modern one. It's a process called the GMT Correlation. And all he did was raise a scholarly point. He basically said, hey, this correlation might not be 100% exact. There could be a margin of uncertainty here. That's it. It was an academic question, not a prophecy.
So let's look at how this thing snowballed. It starts back in 2010. An academic paper just raises a question, suggests there might be some wiggle room. Then, after the world doesn't end in 2012, a few people online grab that idea of uncertainty and they twist it. They start calling it a definite error. They do their own sketchy math and suddenly, poof, they've invented this brand new doomsday window. A serious scholarly question got warped into a totally sensationalist answer.
Okay, so now we know we've got a viral theory that's based on a big misunderstanding. But hey, let's put it to the test. Let's see what the actual historical, archaeological evidence has to say about the year 2026.
And boom, this slide right here is basically the knockout punch. Out of the thousands of Mayan inscriptions that we know of, only 2 even bothered to mention the 2012 date, and neither of them talks about doom. So, what about 2026? How many ancient inscriptions mention that year? Well, you're looking at it. A big, fat 0. Nothing. Zilch. Not.
And the evidence just keeps piling up against it. There are absolutely no special astronomical events that the Mayan codices point to for 2026. In fact, it's the opposite. We found Mayan calculations at sites like Xultún that map out dates thousands of years into our future. I mean, they were planning for the long, long haul. Their entire focus was always on continuity, not some abrupt ending.
So if there is literally zero evidence for a 2026 prophecy, why are we even talking about it, right? Why do these stories have so much staying power, even after they've been completely debunked? Well, the answer says a whole lot more about us right now than it does about the ancient Maya.
It really comes down to this. In our modern digital world, fear and mystery are like currency. Sensationalist headlines, you know the ones, ancient tablet reveals terrifying new prophecy. They get clicks, they get shares, and that means ad revenue. These stories aren't built to inform you, they are engineered to go viral.
And this is a really, really important perspective to hear. For modern Mayan community leaders, these viral myths aren't just some harmless fun. They see them for what they are: a deep misrepresentation, and frankly, an exploitation of their incredible cultural heritage. It reduces this sophisticated, amazing civilization down to a cheap caricature just to get clicks online.
So let's just quickly recap the main takeaways from all this. Number 1, the 2026 claim has zero basis in any ancient Mayan writing. 2, it all comes from a complete misinterpretation of some pretty complex calendar science. And 3, and this is the big one, it completely ignores the entire Mayan worldview, which is all about endless cycles of renewal, not some fiery apocalypse.
So in the end, the 2026 story, it isn't a prophecy about the end of the world, not at all. It's actually a reflection of our world, right now. A world where a really compelling myth can travel way faster than a complicated truth. And that kind of leaves us with a final, and maybe more important question to chew on.